Which one?
Kia ora koutou. We're here today in an open workshop to discuss the future investments into our city centre streetscapes. Just before we start, if the fire alarm sounds, we have exits over here, and the exit meeting point is over in the rain on 3rd Avenue. As you can see, this workshop is slightly different from normal with an interactive format. This will allow us to get involved in the initial concept design process. Soon we will invite some key city centre stakeholders to join us in small groups. And I just ask that everyone turns off their phones now, and if you're going to talk into the microphone, please push the button so we can hear you clearly. We do note that this is a public workshop. It is being live streamed and will be available online. It will be also minuted and publicly available going forward. I'd just like to start by throwing to Councillor Baker, if you could give us an opening karakia, please.
Mauri o rei te whare, mihi ana kia tātou katoa. Ngā manuhiri, ko tai mai nei I tēnei rangi a tāhua, ko te hekinga mai o te ua e rawe te kite I a tātou. Anoho ki kia koe whae, rawe te kite I a koe kia waingano I a tātou, mo tēnei huihuinga tuatahi. Ka waiho ma te hui o te komiti hei whakatau kia tika, engari ka tika me mihi atu kia koe I tēnei wā hoki. Pea no, me noi tātou, e te kaihanga ka inoi kia koe kia manakitia mai mātou I tēnei ahiahi, manakitia o mātou whānau kei ngā koinga maha. Manakitia e rā e māwiwi ana, e rawa kore ana, e pani ana, uhia mai o tō mai rangi a ta whaikirungi I a mātou katoa I tēnei rā. Kuro ki tō ingoa tapu, āmine. Kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. I would now like to hand over to Gareth Wallace. He will be facilitating for us today, so I'll hand over to Gareth and he will take us away.
Kia ora team. In the interests of efficiency and value for money, we're going to have a go at facilitating this workshop ourselves. It could go one of two ways, really well or horribly wrong, but I'm sure with your support we'll have a good quality kōrero and we'll get the outcomes that staff need to kind of move on to next steps. As Mahe mentioned, Thursdays are a tough day for you guys, back-to-back sessions like this, so what we thought we would do, which we'll get into shortly, is mix it up a little bit. So we are going to break into small groups. We're going to invite some members of our community to come and spend some time with you and go through a series of activities. So we will put up some slides to tell you a bit of stuff, but then we want you to break into groups and have conversations and provide feedback to us that we can then take away and use to develop next steps. So if we go to the first slide, please. I guess I just wanted to start with the assumption that on some level we all have an aspiration to continue to want to invest in our city centre and developing it further. And what I wanted to highlight today, or remind you of, is that, and I guess it's the whole point of today, is that you have complete control over how we do that, how much we spend, when we spend it, and what we spend it on. So we call that right spend, right time, right place. And we're going to go away and develop some options and some plans. We're going to bring those back to you at various stages this year for gateway decisions in terms of moving on to the next stage. But again, in the name of efficiency and value for money, we don't want to go away and work on something that is out of kilter with some clear direction that you set for us at the start of the process. So today is about testing some ideas, getting some holistic high-level thoughts from yourselves, drilling down into a little bit more detail in terms of that right spend, right time, right place. And then staff will go away and in regards to two specific things at different times during the year, we'll come back to you. So the first one is our movement framework. I think it was Councillor Taylor said the other day, it'd be great to have this thing nailed by the middle of the year. You know, put it in the ground. This is the way that we're going to move around our city centre, because then everything else flows from that. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the movement framework and getting your feedback and taking that away. So our plan being, we'll see our next steps there, is bringing you back a finalised movement framework by the middle of the year that we can sign off. The second part of the workshop is about investing in our streetscapes. And again, a lot of those decisions flow from the movement framework work, but ultimately we need the direction that you give us today so that we can bring back, like I said, plans that are in some way connected with your high-level vision for how we grow and develop the city centre over the next couple of years. So that's what we'll spend the bulk of our time on today. Before we get into the first presentation, I just wanted to acknowledge our guests in the room and introduce them to you, because they are going to become your friends over the next couple of hours as we work through the workshop. So just around the table, first of all, we have Jackie Rolleston-Steed, who I'm not sure if you've all met yet, but she is the Tangata Whenua rep on the City Delivery Committee. So first meeting on Monday with the team, but thank you for coming today, and it's awesome to have you around the table. We have Aaron Collier, who is here representing the Urban Task Force today, Stephen Hahn, who is a board member of Downtown Tauranga, and I am normally in Stephen's place of work because he's my Pilates instructor, so it's quite nice to have Stephen in my place of work today. Genevieve Whitson, who's the manager of Downtown Tauranga. We've got Mornay Hugo, who is an urban designer and a representative of the Tauranga Urban Design Panel. Wendy Nielsen, who's the board chair of Waikato Bay of Plenty, Western Bay of Plenty Disability Support Trust. So we're going to split them up amongst you, and they're here to help stimulate those conversations about our city centre and our aspiration for its growth and development over the next couple of years. So that's my preamble. I'm totally happy to take questions anywhere along the way. We will run a whiteboard with stuff that we haven't got time to get to today, so we make sure we remember it, we can come back to it. I'm going to run a pretty tight ship in terms of time because, like I said, you guys have had a tough day already. We want to finish at 4 and we've got a lot to get through. So any initial questions? Hautapu.
Is this a competition and how do we win?
That'll be the second half.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Is there equivalent pieces of work being done in other parts of the city
for this? And will we have future workshops on that?
Right at this stage.
Yeah, not at this stage, but let's see how this goes, how you find it, and where you'd like to spend your time and investment going forward.
Okay, I'm going to hand over to Sean and Emily just to work through the first couple of slides, and then we'll break out to an activity.
Thank you. Thank you, Gareth. Just making sure you can hear us. So in terms of the starting point, I'd just like to draw your attention to on your tables, you've got the first piece of paper is what we're calling the City Centre ecosystem, the dark blue page. You have seen this before in another iteration, but this is just a useful scene setting piece. It's effectively our plan on a page for how the city centre is going to develop over the next 10 years. It is our North Star, and we've called it an ecosystem because it is about realising the interconnectedness of all of the different moves that are occurring in our city centre at the moment. I also wanted to call out, we're really thrilled to have our external stakeholders joining you today because this is very much a collaborative effort. It's not just council's show, it's not just council doing the work in the city centre, it is many others who are really creating the power of the change in the city centre. So what we just wanted to draw attention to is that the future state of our city centre is very different than what it looks like today. We will have more people on our city streets, using the streets in a different way, interacting with new buildings in a very different way, and that really should be front of mind as we work through what good looks like for our city streetscapes in the future.
Yeah, so this was a walk around of the city the other day, much nicer day than today, thankfully. But just wanted to give you a few mind jogs around just what our city looks like. So we've got, if we go from the left, we've got a roundabout and we've got an asset that is very much at the end of life and starting to really show it, and in need of maintenance, all the way through to our really nice Elizabeth Street linear park area outside of Farmers, which has received some fairly positive feedback on its use. I just wanted to really reiterate Emily's statement on this slide around our city streets are having to adapt to their changing uses. These uses do come from both changing trends nationally and internationally through to the growth that we are expecting and experiencing as a city at this point in time.
But just to note, it's not all doom and gloom in our city centre. The council has undertaken some recent streetscape upgrades over recent years. So moving from left to right, we've got the upgraded Durham Street, looking pretty different these days with the new bus stops being built. We will come to that. But noting that Durham Street was developed as an interface with the University of Waikato new campus development. We then have Wharf Street developed through a tactical phase, so that did go through a trial phase into what we know today as our Eat Street, particularly kind of relevant to note that streets can provide that kind of ambient nighttime amenity as well through the beautiful lighting. We've got Elizabeth Street West, so that total amount included the linear park concept, which fed into the Green Necklace strategy for our Te Papa spatial plan. It also included First Avenue and a new laneway, Marianui Lane. And then finally, Elizabeth Street East, that was also finished at the end of 2023 with the connection to Tunks Reserve and to the waterfront. We do note that we will provide more detail as to the costs and how they were borne over the projects and then compare those to other projects happening elsewhere in the country, noting that it is quite hard to compare apples with apples across these types of developments.
Cool, thank you. Right, we're going to break into our first activity, so it might take a minute to get the right people sitting at the right place. There's a few staff in the room as well, so there's Emily and Sean, we've got Nick Chester from Strategy, Nick Johansson hiding in the back row, and Isaac from our Spaces and Places team that many of you may not have met. But we're here to help as well. We're here to kind of pod and proke and stimulate discussion. 5-minute activity. We're going to do it quick. But the first question is, next slide please, what does good look like? So to you, in terms of our city centre of the future, what does good look like? You know, for example, safe. There's an easy one. Stick it on a post-it. We'll share back with the group when we finish the exercise. But yeah, don't be shy. Any ideas you have in terms of what does good look like and what outcomes are desired from our city centre streets. Don't just think about today. Think about 5 years, think about 10 years, think about the growth of the city, all of the private and public sector development, and chuck some ideas down in terms of your thoughts. 5 minutes, starting now.
Yep. Let me just remind everyone.
Oh, yeah, you're going to just get through.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we are. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. How did the my nephew go in my city? Yeah. Doing all right. Doing all right. But that's not here for so. Oh, this is the
Are we going that way? I think
Yeah, I
so
do.
that you can all face
this is all good. This is all good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get rocking.
Just the four of us, I think.
One scribe, one pass.
And not choose. I'll start. No. But aesthetics, I mean,
Yeah, they're just all kind of over.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm going to say comfortable and seating because we also want to cater for the over 50s.
You're saying what it looks like from infrastructure?
Well, maybe it just has to be specifically.
Both from both a business perspective and also a residential
But imagine there was an
perspective or
actual
enjoying the city.
destination.
So the accessibility's kind of got a balance in the needs of getting in and out with transport, etc. all good, but also people being able to get in and around the city centre easily. And I think more and more that seems to be trending towards less reliance on vehicles, which has its positive aspects. But if we're going to go that way, we need to make sure that there's like...
You might find it like after
So easy to get to, easy to get around.
Easy to write that down.
Easy to get to, easy to get around.
It's brilliant.
Oh, when you start running these down, don't you? Oh, amazing. Which sounds thinking. Oh, yes. Okay, yep. I like
It's the only arcade remaining between Devonport Road and Grey Street.
But so when we do this, let's either decide how much we drop into versus how high and strategic we are.
So we'll keep it...
That to me is detail of what I've written.
Yeah.
I suppose they're like,
Not that I disagree with you, but I'm just saying,
So let's get into
you know what I mean, eh?
Put that on yours, and you can decide whether
Yeah, because it's important.
business vehicles as well as for people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Because if you want business there, they've got to be able to load and unload it. And that's the
yeah.
I mean, I think the way to control public spaces in like using furniture that are not.
They don't do as much maintenance. Yeah.
I mean, we can't underestimate the importance of green space in the city. And Tauranga is actually using trees. So it's important to get the right amount of
Actually,
but it's
No, I wouldn't say losing it. Putting more trees in certain areas.
But if you look at it at the moment, yeah, that is probably a big thing, but specifically look at it, lacking these trees.
if you walk around the streets right now, it just looks a little bit like, it looks a bit empty, doesn't it? Like, it looks like, it'd be so beautiful. Like, I love I think the projection of Durham Street.
That's what the city centre has to be. It's got to be everything.
It's
It's got to be the quantum of the seas, just not in the sea.
We were back the other day. And apparently it's well made.
I just wanted to just draw that on the stream. That might be one answer.
But when you said usable, what do you mean by usable?
Well, usable,
Yeah, like trees that don't need to be, like, for example, probably trees that don't need to be clipped every 2 months. There's a tree that needs to be clipped every, like, yeah, once a year.
bricks and tiles that actually are not usable, they're not easy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's great.
That can be controlled with actually quite good trees in the city when you don't use it.
Yeah, but then that comes under that. Easy to get around them. If you've got cobblestone, it's not easy to get around. That's what I'm saying. I think we've got to stay at that. Try and stay at that level, because I agree with you. But, so I think that's a subset of that. I could be wrong, but I mean, I'm happy to be told wrong.
Like, do they repeat those mistakes?
No,
Because I agree with Jen 100%.
the technology.
Connection, I think you might have started thinking about that, but connecting parts of the city to playground as well.
Wheelchair, so when they're going to do it, it'll have to be nice, smooth concrete. That's it.
Yeah,
Those
think it's 2 minutes to take a cheese.
are just usable. Yeah. Yeah, but that's about.
Oh, do you mean like down Broad Street area? They haven't, but interesting enough, I had somebody complain to me that the new playground is amazing, but it's kind of covered. Yeah, they're saying we need more shade, like some more shade. Yeah.
And this is money coming from spending another 3 million.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I've heard. Yeah.
Well, making the spaces accessible so that, for example, if you're proposing painting a new building.
But I personally have had nothing come back to me. But it's interesting that you've heard it.
Council doesn't come across
I haven't. No, nobody's.
I want to be able to lock my bike.
We want more cover. I think because it's too busy right now.
A handle like that, I
That's
redeveloping the city.
I think thoughtful planning is probably as well, just that's the...
And good communication.
Yes. And I wonder if that too was.
I think your city centre team has a pretty good understanding of what's going on.
What it's got to do is stay busy.
Outdoor dining makes me feel a little bit like
Not just that,
because
but it's got to be
obviously
nice
right now
concrete.
the
Has to be, it's got to be a slight shift to...
but you know, like maybe just more outside dining areas that are
One of the things I think the city could do really well.
The people that want to come here rather than go to Rotorua, do this. The city centre has to become so appealing.
yeah, exactly. Long stays and then spending more.
There's been no reason to keep them here. That's been going on for
Doing this, it's got to be like many days of people want to be there. I don't know the word, but
They want to
it's got to be enticing, iconic, all those words. It's got to become famous. It's got to be iconic.
Oh, they want to mold.
Not like
Yeah.
Are we talking local art?
No, we're talking about the art
Just driven past.
1 minute.
Well, they're like all the things that they can get into them, like a lot of shops, like
Be louder.
Yeah.
You know, more is a thing where there's an anchor store.
Okay, table 1.
Park in it bullshit too. The reason the shops
And table 4. What we'll do is we'll actually just move straight into the second exercise because you're already there, you're at the tables, you're having a good conversation. So after this exercise we'll get a little bit of feedback from you, and ultimately we're going to collect it all, we're going to put it up on a board, we'll write it all up and feed it back to you at some point. But the second thing that we wanted you to have a bit of a think about, staff have been through and thought about all of the challenges in the city centre, come up with 3 problem statements and then 3 draft investment objectives. So we're interested in, without wordsmithing it, is this ballpark right? Or couldn't care less about that one, you need to add this one instead. Because ultimately, again, we'll reflect that back to you in terms of all of the future investment case and streetscape delivery plans that we develop, so that we can make sure that what we're ultimately achieving ties all the way back to the conversations that we're having right now and what you're trying to achieve by spending 50, 60, 70, 80 million dollars in the city centre over the next 10 years. So do those problem statements resonate with you? Do the investment objectives resonate with you? I don't need you to wordsmith them to within an inch of their lives, but in general, cross that one off and add another one, or yes, bang on. That type of feedback for us would be very useful. We'll do 5 minutes on that, and then we'll just go around each table and get a little bit of feedback on both of the first exercises. Cool? Thank you very much.
Well, that first statement I don't agree with.
I feel like it sounds really negative, and I really like the first two.
But there's certain, like, there's certain
Would you actually say, should it be connected? Because even the hands, you know, they're going around this.
And I
I
think
think instead of work hard, it should
yeah, exactly. It just yeah.
So the objective statement says cohesive.
Connected
The cohesion, yeah. So I think that cohesion is what you see is missing from that. I think the first line is good. Current street caps are not meaning these are current or future.
Like the hands. Those are great. I see people using them.
Lack of collaborative overarching plan for city centre, street cap means designs are piecemeal and reactive. I don't know enough to say definitively I agree, but from my experience I agree with that statement.
I agree. I think
it's a balancing act.
Well, I'm also thinking before we had that spaces and places team function quite well, there didn't seem to be a cohesive approach towards how we would do things in town. I know we can't dictate to business to say you can only paint your building blue, but we needed some type of collaborative approach so that artwork down, that plant down there, match that plant there, that type of...
Based on this code, what they're wanting is for us to do.
Oh, I think centres and places. I think spaces and places.
Maybe it's just areas of the streetscapes are
That's definitely like they don't, so they have to work. They should work hard to make those things happen properly, and that's the issue with whether we have parking.
I go to one place and it's generally outside just slightly outside of town. But if we're going to change the topic around as opposed to accessibility, I was thinking opportunity before. For the city is we are actually missing like a world-class hotel, for example, which would bring, because we have a lot of events and celebrities that come in, but then they fly out of the hotel.
They do a big
So then I suppose that falls into the third draft problem statement. That would fall into that category.
Statement that there isn't a magnet just now. Like there's no reason to come in yet, right? We have
it's not as
we have been trying to fix it, but the problem is
the result. But don't we have to say this with the knowledge that the piece going to be built? I got some of your one last night downtown Tauranga. In 3 years' time, it's going to be downtown. So we've got to be talking about this in the context of in 3-4 years' time. That's transformed. So there's no point looking at it now.
The draft problem is current. The investment objective is the outcome.
Okay, yeah, great. Well, good.
Do you understand that? Yes. Sorry.
No, I do, but I'm just saying.
So that's our current scenario, and that's what we're looking to get to. Do we agree? Personally, I agree with all 3 parts of that draft problem statement as a current state of future investment. Actually, current investment, which I agree with. To encourage more people to spend time in the city centre, that is all of those adjectives that we've written.
What you're saying.
I just feel like the word work hard are a bit negative. Like I'd rather let something sound a little bit. I feel like downtown
to improve crime safety, we agree with that. That's why we've got cobblestones that people get that are sitting on the wet. There's no consistency.
Yeah, I just feel like it's not very alluring. Yeah,
I suppose that's the first one. Like, I would just cross that one out.
So I just feel like the word work hard is really
And city council of being, let's do something different here and then do something different. Let's do something that's more practical, but also, it's a really trendy thing to do, but it doesn't give us
But that's what I think the last one.
yeah.
So I don't want to just no, it's not just about
Adaptive, it's agile, or just I just feel like any other. Yeah.
So the second one
But isn't that the third line, which is cohesive and cost-effective?
Well, it just feels like on its own.
We're not doing odd things. So we just
Yeah, it just
Sorry, I mean, this is what they're going to use.
Well, that's what I feel like the current problem is the street some of the streets are. So, for example, if you go down to the, like, where, Twix Reserve, that's amazing. Or if you go to the playground, that area is amazing, but it's a bit disparate. You've got a great bit here, and a great bit there, but it's not.
Yeah, but I think everything from this problem is that balance.
I think that's a constant of detail. I think, for me, people spend time, people spend 6 hours in a place, they're going to eat a meal, they're going to look at, they're going to do stuff, so, they can, again, that would be what, but I think, if they're there and
But yeah, no, I agree with that. There's a lot of
people there
different
that will tend to
stakeholders that want a lot of different things, so you've got to...
There's all sorts of users and people coming in.
So then the draft objectives to encourage more, yes, I think that would be an objective, wouldn't it? Get more people wanting to be there.
What else is there, really?
I'd say to improve...
Encourage people to spend time in the city centre, in brackets spending time. Yes, productive. Yeah, we can qualify that. To improve current state of streetscape at the end of life. Tick. We've got some streetscapes that are not standard, both as risk and aesthetically. And then overarching is the third line, which is cohesive and cost-effective plan that improves streetscapes.
Very demanding.
That's the key to me, is that last line. I don't know if we can add more to it, but
I sort of personally think the investment objectives are narrow.
I would add what Jen said.
Yeah, they're great. Kind of going in the direction of trying to fill the gaps that used to be. It's good.
So I would add what Jen said. So for me, I think all of this is about connecting to TMOTP. So it's fundamentally the heart of what we're doing. So the whole, which is the whole big thing, $1.5 billion, $2 billion of Civic Centre Library. That is going to be the heart. So there's no point having that there and then having a shitty access from Devonport Road. So it's all going to... That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying Jen said that before. So connect, cohesive, connected and cost effective. I'm less worried about cost effective.
So would the first draft investment objective then be to encourage people to identify TMP as the city, half the city centre, to spend more time around the city centre? Does that make sense? Do we phrase it?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I
wasn't there, but I've never seen you so quiet. It has been renovated.
We've got a massive big part of the city we're building. The streetcapes have to tie in and be connected with what we're doing. There's no point having them stopping at the bottom of the river. And that's what I said Jen said.
So how do you incorporate that into one of those statements or make another statement around it?
What's that bottom one to me? Cohesive plan. I don't know how we actually don't sense when you put
connected, cohesive and cost effective.
Yeah, you just add it to those 3 words. It's a key word to add.
Because the current streetscape.
Yeah, and especially now that we're
Improving streetscapes?
30 seconds. Sean, winding it up, Sean.
Improve, what does improve mean? So do we want a cohesive, connected, cost-effective plan that delivers a vibrant, enticing environment?
Okay.
Like that whole downtown has to be fun to be in.
Rightio, I'm going to move on. I just need to remind everyone that we are, like the Mayor said at the start, in a public workshop, and the mics are actually live all of the time. So staff are having a wonderful time, and any members of the public online listening to your conversations, which is the nature of a public workshop. But just to remind you that everything you say in this workshop is being heard by members of the public. I want to go back to what does good look like, and I think I'll start at table 3 over here. One spokesperson from the table, 2 or 3, a couple of quick things. What does good look like, and then we'll go around the room really quickly. Use your microphone then.
Because I've got stage fright.
Yeah.
One of the things we did talk about, managing how and where cars have access. Making good connections to the harbour. Correct planting that considers the ongoing maintenance costs. Our go-to, value for money, and that's not necessarily about dollars specifically, but is the actual social benefit good value for money. Being able to clearly communicate changes, and we're talking mainly about the roading, direction and all that sort of stuff to the public, and having an education and stuff that doesn't change is probably the key. I've got lots. Durability, paving, considering the maintenance costs going forward. So at the moment we've got a whole lot of pavers versus maybe asphalt might be cheaper. So having that consideration.
Thank you. We will capture all of them. Over to your table, Glenn.
Yeah, just chip in if I convey anything wrong. So we had safety was a big driver for a lot of the businesses and no doubt the public. Accessibility, including not just accessibility for all people, but also through to delivery vehicles and things. So, and including the spaces that they use in the city being provided for. Aesthetics, so that includes things like public art and also just sort of grassroots kind of do-it-yourself public art, like Martin was mentioning. People was it drawing?
Oh yeah, the kids drawing on the streets.
Yeah, and just sort of creativity, that sort of area. Trees and green space, including the appropriate species selection when doing that, taking a long-term, cost-effective view. And we talked about sort of low maintenance, and I didn't get a chance to find this by you guys, but I noted down, and going with that was sort of minimal chemical use, so you're not actually trading off something bad for the environment just to kind of keep some costs down in the short term. Continuous cover along routes, but also an outdoor dining so that you sort of protect from the rain, heavier rain with climate change, and also through more sun. And one more, yeah, we touched on things like what pulls people in there. One of the things could be anchor retail. When it gets to certain thresholds, things tend to come into city centres, and I guess we sort of discuss whether we want it to not look like a mall, or whether you have a CBD version of a sort of like a mini mall that's a tasteful mall-like experience and somewhere in the CBD, because a lot of young people, and there's been some work done in Tauranga around this, where young people say they actually like malls and they're not adverse to it, whereas older people tend to go, no, we don't want a mall in the CBD. So that, I just sort of just see which direction, and do we have a say on that, or is that just what the retailers decide to do for themselves?
Cool, thank you. It's already good. Two groups and some consistency, so types of trees planted, for example, and a good understanding of consequential effects of all of the decisions we make in the city centre. Jen.
So we want a city that's easy to get to and easy to get around, and that means it's usable, practical, where does traffic flow, where do loading zones go, what sort of footpaths are used, drinking fountains around the city. We want a fun, interactive, family-friendly waterfront, really utilising the ocean and the water path at the moment, and leading up to Te Manawa-Take o Te Papa. We want it to be safe and comfortable and sun and shade, because people do want both. We want residential, we want people living in the city. We want the city, what does good look like to us was busy and vibrant. We want to look at the aesthetics, and we used iconic, fun, bold, enticing and vibrant.
Awesome, thank you very much. And table 2.
You guys will be listening to the live stream because you heard what we had to say. No, there's a lot of what you guys have said that we had too, so the only other thing I'll add that's slightly nuanced or unique in terms of what good looks like is interactive. So interactive with adjoining spaces, whether it be public, private, everything in between, and with that comes a cohesive, collaborative, timeliness of development. So everything's speaking to everything around and is complementary of one another, not combative.
We will collect all those up in a minute, but while we're at table 2, really keen on any of your feedback on draft problem statements and then draft investment options.
Yes, thank you. So we don't agree with number 1. That, you know, and I guess the reason for that, as you walk around the CBD, I don't think you go, oh, this is way out of date, we need to change it. You know, I think you know, it's not obvious like that. It meets its purpose at the moment. The lack of collaborative, we agree with that, but we would cut out the last bit. And what was the cut out the last bit in our wording was so not basically means designs are not aligning with what's planned, and our example to that is, you know, if there's a private development going on, you know, we need to collaborate and potentially do the streetscape in line with that, so that, because, you know, what was there before may, like when the new development there, then it may not meet the standard or the or, you know, and we don't work particularly well on that. The last one, yeah, we pretty much agree with that. We'd take out just at the end. I don't think we need the at the same time. So just meets the needs and aspirations of a variety of stakeholders. I think that pretty much says it. We agree with the last one's pretty much, yes, we want more people in the city. You know, again, we want to improve the current state of streetscapes in accordance with developments, and that's the public and private. Again, we don't agree around, you know, just because something's at the end of life, because I don't. Again, walking around the CBD, I'm not sure that is the case. You know, and I guess, you know, the Strand roundabout, for example, yeah, okay, it doesn't look great, but I don't think there's a need that it needs to be done right now. And then, yeah, that last one, you know, cohesive and cost-effective plan, that's good. So, yeah, that's what we got to.
That's great feedback, and I particularly enjoy the challenge, because that's how we're going to get the best outcome, by you guys challenging what's up here, then us reflecting those changes back to you along this journey. So back to table 1. Draft problem statements, draft investment.
You wrote them down. I just want to quickly throw in, not as to be at all argumentative, however, you currently can't walk down Devonport Road in Jandals if it rains. Right? So to me that says the current streetscapes are not meeting the needs of current or future users, because you slip over. Now,
I haven't walked
yeah,
down
so,
there.
and I know I'm quite unique because I've had a business there for a long time and I live on the harbour, but I would argue that the streets actually don't meet the needs of all the people in the CBD. And the practical example is you will trip if you're wearing jandals in the rain on Devonport Road. I thought myself, we had some disagreement, I agreed with all 3 statements completely, and I agreed with the investment objectives as well.
Except the last one.
Jen clarified it.
Cohesive and productive. We wanted to add productive to that last
I can't
statement.
read
To the first one.
You read it out.
No, so we actually said to encourage more people to spend more productive time in the city. So we actually do need them spending or working or eating or having fun, I guess. And the last one we changed to cohesive, connected, cost-effective plan that delivers on an iconic, vibrant, enticing and bold city centre.
Yep.
Great words.
No acronyms, that's just all straight.
Back round to table 4. Who's got it this time?
You actually said.
Yes.
Actually, Emily wrote down 1A,
Genevieve.
which was a future-focused. Do we need? Oh, we don't need to put down. What did I write? You took a note, and you future focused.
Yep.
Oh, is that?
Yes. Multimodal, that were your words.
Those top ones.
Yeah, like just the move. Yeah, it's sort of a future fit, multimodal movement plan to try and mean that people could actually get into and out of the city centre and move around the city centre, you know, nice and easily. Because if they can't do that, it doesn't matter how much we spend. it will deter a big chunk of people from actually going there, no matter how wonderful the offering is. So we have to do both things.
Cool. Any others in regards to any of those statements? That's a great addition. Morna?
Yeah, I think it just ties into that streetscapes must work hard, and then just clarifying what that actually means for people and saying, well, streetscapes need to support all these multi-functions now that they never used to necessarily in the past.
Yep.
That multimodal mobility, service vehicles, all the stuff. So it's maybe looking at options for how we can better describe that work hard better in that sense.
Perfect. And Rod?
Again, we probably disagree with the Mayor on that first one. We brought up specifically the slipping thing, but there are some definite health hazards are in place. And then the first sentence in the draft investment objectives, we think live, work and play, because it does mean different things to different people in the city. Spending time suggests a visitor, but if you're living in the city, you're going to be walking, scootering, whereas if you're coming in a car, it's a different thought.
Okay, awesome. Thanks everyone, really appreciate the kōrero and getting that feedback. Sometime in the next 5 minutes we'll come around and grab all those post-its and put them in the appropriate place so we can start collecting that information. We will also go back over the recordings and make sure we didn't miss anything. I'm going to hand over to Sean in regards to the movement framework. We'll work through that, then we'll take a quick break. I'm just going to point out that on your desks you do have some maps. The reason being it's really hard to see what Sean's going to talk about way here on the screen, and the large A2 we're going to get you to draw on when we break back into the next activity. So we're interested in your scribblings in terms of what's working and what isn't working and what else we could look at doing differently. So they are there for a purpose when we get to the next activity. So in the meantime, I'm going to hand over to Sean to really quickly talk you through the movement framework.
So if we, sorry, just click through a slide or two.
Oh yeah, we're missing the girls. Oh well. Hey Caroline, we slides. We'll just move slides.
Yeah.
Thanks, Caroline.
You got my vote.
So, okay, handing over to Sean for the next couple of minutes, and then you guys are going to get to play with maps and pens again shortly. Aktung.
So yes, so City Centre Movement Framework is a key component that we wanted to talk through today. This slide is really a first cut initial thoughts on the type of uses that occur within our city centre streets. There's a whole lot, and I'm sure you'll all be able to think of others as well. So that was really just reiterating the whole premise of having this framework is that then we can work on balancing the conflicting uses of the street. So I will just make sure that we move along, and if we go to the next slide. The City Centre Movement Framework, as drawn on a map, is a very complicated set of lines and symbols. So that is why we've printed that one off as an A2, but we've also then on the next slides and also on the other prints broken it down into its more component parts. The mantra of this framework in its development has been getting people where they want to go, how they need to get there. So sometimes walking will be the best way to get somewhere, but not everybody is able to walk, be it somebody with mobility issues or service delivery vehicles. So how do they need to get there? If we go to our next slide, sorry. Pedestrian movement I've included as the first breakdown. So this talks to the fact that our city centre is relatively compact, and we need to provide for pedestrians to get from point A to point B through to point C. and how do we do that? But we also need to make sure that we provide for people to get into town through, be it active modes or through either driving or catching the bus, and being able to get from that point to where they want to go. So some of the key components of this is the movement spine through the centre down Willow Street, but also the how do we connect Wharapai Domain and that area of town to the rest of the city centre and the waterfront, because often if you're a bit newer to the city, you don't actually really notice that Wharapai is right there and actually very close to the waterfront and to our shops and hospitality. If we go to the next slide, sorry. Vehicle movement, a key component of how the city is currently used, and if we're being realistic, it's going to stay a key component of how people move in and around our city centre for many years to come. So we're very focused around how we move vehicles around the city to where they need to go, so to car parks where the appropriate car park is, and to be that a parking building, off-street parking location, through to a location that accessibility or vehicle loading purposes can be. Of the next slide then just shows a bit more of a zoomed in version, because that does get fairly complicated. This includes what is currently under trial with the city centre movement pilot. So that concept of moving vehicles where possible around the city and then allowing them to come into that sort of more defined block. Things that are in this current plan that or framework that hasn't been trialled is things like Grey Street, the concept of how do we enable that key retail space to be a more retail focused location while still allowing people to get through, and also a much more pedestrianised sort of focus of the strand between Devonport Road and Hamilton Street. So that's shown as one way and then as a shared space. Yes, the other inclusion is making Willow Street between Wharf Street and Spring Street a bit more of a shared space as well, connecting our civic precinct, Manotaki Otipapa, through to retail, through to Elizabeth Street and the investment and development that's happening in there, but also enabling that to be a place that taxis and ride shares can pick up and drop off people right by the hospitality that exists on the Strand and Wharf Street without being in the way per se of closures or events, so that could happen. The next slide is public transport. I have a bit of a mantra here of everybody actually quite likes a bus stop, they just don't want it directly out front. Durham Street has obviously proven that, and this is a key component of showing where us developing a bit more of a plan and a bit more detail will hopefully reduce some of the issues and conflicts that we have had in the past when developing our city centre.
Cool.
Yeah, that's...
Next slide. Cool, we're going to break into groups. I get the feeling there's going to be lots of questions. So add those up. We'll send Sean around the tables, who's our subject matter expert, to answer any we can on the fly. Otherwise, when we come back together as a full group, we'll try and answer some questions. But in particular, what do you like about what's currently proposed, what's working, and then conversely, what isn't working? What could we do differently? What else should we trial? All of that kind of feedback. We've only allowed 5 minutes. I think it's going to take longer. There's a lot to unpack here. And this is the crux of what we need from you, so that by the middle of the year, like we suggested before, we can actually finalise this thing, put a line in the sand, and then to, I think it was Glenn's table's point, we can be really clear about communicating that moving forward, so that thank you, Steve, Papamoa represent. We can be really clear about communicating that with the public moving forward, so that they start to get into a habit of this is how we get around our city centre. So back to your little groups, get your pens out, questions, ideas, what's working, what's not, new ideas, what else could we trial? Go for it.
This is the
Oh, that's the same question I've got.
The big thing is we're looking at it not as a CBD anymore, so they're thinking in the languages this is a city centre that's going to provide, and then the other blueprint is different precincts. You've got education, you've got justice. So that's it. So we're thinking about this whole area as a city centre that's going to be a key place. But within that, there's going to be the magnets of the public facilities.
I know there are a lot of people complaining about
Yeah, to the president.
Because that is going to be the thing that's going to make some of
if you've got a line the bus with friends who've got a really severe
yes, all of this here today.
So the most effective way to get that to happen is to have a board referendum on all sides.
Can you please write and convince me of the Rod Taylor story? I was angry.
28 million.
4.6% of the annual budget. Yeah, I know. It's only 4.6 of it. I'm only scared of it.
But then what's going to help it is at the moment, the legal procedure.
Well, but some of the legal roads are coming back.
The rate-paying centre needs to be extended.
Oh, so that's a different issue for the downtown board, which we can. That's an issue for our board. But the northern law firms are coming back downtown. Hollenbeck will be moving into the northern quarter come this July, so they're going into Dean's building here, which is
that would make sense.
So.
I keep going back to that accessibility issue, I think, around, in buses, kind of having these set routes at different times. And I really like that idea around something smaller,
I have a few people.
Have you suggesting that they still have to like laying down their cars?
On that traffic thing, this may have been on the cards many times and written off, I have no idea. But one of the things that districts and councils are saying to me is they're always thinking that from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. just So make that after hours you don't actually go and can't drive.
I think the idea is,
So this is the rationale because so this here, because it's happening.
Oh, sorry.
How we connect and get around, and then obviously we've got these existing areas where people are maybe not good at that. So we want to make a space out. Well, to me, the flow is really about so easy to get to. Come and park in here, right? Then if I don't get around,
if you close that,
that's what I'm saying. So we're going to make it easy to get to. So that's where I'll come and I'll park here, or I'll come and I'll park here, or I'll come and I'll park here. Then from there, how do we get
How do you
around
flow
this
to that?
place?
Yeah.
So is there little trains that just go to key points? I not know what the answer is. But like you imagine if you go there and then this little train goes
We can redeploy that one from Memorial Park that needs a new home.
Yes, sorry, Sean.
But it's the same idea. I understand what you're saying practically. We need to be able to get people to park there, move into here. So,
can I make the district court? How do I get up and have a meeting over here really easily?
yeah, okay. Where jetpacks for ratepayers.
It could be a really simple system.
I think that's just your way of.
I'd love, personally, I'd love to see some form of every 5 minutes there's something just
Well,
going
in Melbourne, we're all familiar
and
with
you can jump on
we're familiar with Melbourne, the free tram in Melbourne.
Extended house.
and they actually happen to be separate. One stops here, one stops here, one stops here. That makes it very straight. But yeah, I'm not sure the
think they just didn't want to see that what's already been reduced.
You'd leave it there as
You'd stop to go for a swim at the beach. That idea of continuing flowing from public transport is quite interesting. It's not really achievable, I don't think, in the next 10 years. But that concept does work. I don't think to have a continually running through public transport system in the CBD. Melbourne Transit system works very well, but they've had that in place for over 100 years, right? So, I don't think that we could ever get, I mean, that might be a little bit dangerous, but I don't think we could get that happening within the next 10 years. Plus the disruption that we'll have to do to all the businesses, etc., will be quite complicated.
Do we like the one way?
The one way? I have to, if I had my pure downtown Tauranga member hat on, I would say several businesses do not like it, is what I would say.
I mean,
that's not because they feel that they're missing the opportunity to get customers quickly and easily. And that's with my downtown business.
One way you can have more parking.
So it needs to be communicated clearly that there's a benefit for one way.
You know, the city centre exchange.
So the benefit needs to be communicated.
The one thing I think we've got a problem here, this is what I don't get, was it's quite a long way from, so this is also going to be part of the city, it's become used to here, and you get farms up. It's quite a long way to get from here, to get from here, if you get to here, you go all the way back up here in a car, for example, all the way around there, you go from here to here. There's something missing in the accessibility. You know, this is almost blocking off those two areas. And if you block this off, you've got some real first-hand issues. Of course, to get to here, I can't get to here. I can't go up 3 square metres around there. I've got to go all the way to there, all the way to there. So there's got to be, that's what I'm saying, and we're going to be monument there now, so we can't sneak, we can't get 3 square metres. Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I think so there's a real risk for me.
There wasn't there something
full time.
Yeah, but I don't think that would.
You know what I mean? This here effectively blocks it.
Because I'm on my bike all the time, I just go the wrong way. I go through the car and then
This is going to be no, it's not. No access, no access, no access.
And I mean, maybe that at the moment you provide.
But that's true, but you started this conversation by saying people will park, will park here or here. So if I'm parking here,
I mean, it's getting
I don't stay there, even if I'm in farm. You see what I mean?
But how do I get there?
Walk. Well, then you get in your car and you drive up to this car park, you park in Farmers Car. And I must admit, people here, and it took me a long time to actually accept this, even though my sister said it to me before I moved. But they all park in different more roads and then drive to Grace Street. Park there, and then go direct to get in. Park in
I think the thing is, though,
this is the northern strand of the southern. I don't even know the names of it, but for me, again, it's quite a mountain move. I'd love to be able to go jump on. That's what I'm saying. I'd love to be able to get on something to get to there.
So you think the key is constantly growing public transport?
From my perspective, just approaching the city from this direction, this is where I get off to the port here.
Is the intention that you
I also approach from the southerly direction as well, but it seems to be easier to get into the mall from the south than it is from the north.
I almost feel like there could be a section. Yeah, I almost feel like there could be a section. Oh, actually, no, sorry, you're right. I was thinking
That's a question.
yeah.
just a question?
We'll just put it in question.
And if so, will you
And that's
I used to work at the
there to
tell you.
So that's
This is what I think that we need to
Spring's already but we are saying there is a sign registered as a directory service, and when you drive into town now on the 4th and Devonport Road, it tells you how many car parks there are. If you're coming on Drive Crescent,
To me, that makes sense. Visuals on Manawataki, and it needs to be a city centre courtyard, isn't it, really?
There is one.
You wouldn't want cars driving through the middle of that. The only question there is...
there is a build, there's a information board. So maybe
There is
a team. That's an interesting one. I haven't heard. It might be.
Things interesting. I mean, if you look at the two malls you've got, they're just dying. They're all vacant.
Or like Crossing and Bayfair.
No, down the real
oh, right.
mall. Well, yeah, but that's all you've got. You've got two.
You don't have to be there, right?
No, because a lot of buses.
That is going to be covered.
There is a public art walk.
I mean, it might be on the one that's grey and the
A good TCC.
I don't know. At the moment, that space.
The green was allocated. What about looking at this bit? Evolution of strategies.
Probably still
Retail and commercial.
making it a shared space.
They're done.
I like the one
So we don't even have Piccadilly Arcade. The only in the oldest.
But should it be this way?
Oh, so you reckon like instead?
Well, I think this area is not
Especially
this
if you're
is,
coming over.
but Piccadilly Arcade is privately owned. These are
Yeah,
like Piccadilly Arcade partners. So that's why, like all of this is what this city is doing, not if it's a landmark location.
I'm not sure.
I'm keen for people no, we have. Look at the context. And we're really actually fortunate that we've got good people on the to do processes not
direction and knowing the way the buses are there and there's a lot of
we talked about Highland because I think experiential stuff. We was always about potential. Yeah, but also create a different space, almost for and that next thing, every 5 minutes, there's a little ding ding ding. There's 10 bus stops.
I mean, what's your feeling around this now?
It just fundamentally means I can be
I've sort of got used to it, and I know. Yeah, that's
What it to be like an
this is told me that while they didn't like it initially, the majority of I think it was the right call to make whether that's two-way. I think that's the right call, just because it's such a main access. And the buses were blocking access to some of the
and it feels like a busy road.
Yeah.
This part is just this part is but
I'm not a big fan, but I think
it's up to this intersection.
I've actually seen somebody drive down this way. It's just like, what are you doing?
but I suppose
And it is right about the site, just because I wait for my
I'd be hoping this
Because there's no, like I know that there's
or that rather than parking, particularly rather than parking there, they park at Spring Street and
yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
Yes, but how do they know it might be there if it's the
I'm not sure what it's going to be a massive communication piece if they do change it like that.
All of that change behaviour. So what I'm trying to do is this is now this is then going to have the vibe of the most quiet place of the cafe. So what this is going to make people feel like is a totally different feel of road that's got a fire engine on it. And this here is full of dust. They've taken away these two potentially, so that's why I would be probably slow to accept the ground cars. Or we need to have some form of circuitry trolley buses that can just connect this easily. I don't think it's a walk over there all the time. That experience, some of those cruising, it's not going to be there as far as
accommodating those who
and that's also if you look at the commercial sector,
That makes sense.
others are able to park.
so I don't know the answer, but I think we've got to really understand
And that is the proposal of that because that's got traffic flow in this direction. So that's not right.
at the moment you can't say.
But is this indicating that it will be bi-directional?
No, that's indicating that it'll just be the one direction.
Yeah, so that will be one direction. So you can turn around and come to this is one direction there, up there, you can't come back here. So
that's what I'm saying. I just think you really need to give it. I don't know the answer. I'll explore the spaces we
But your idea that we can encourage
close it every night at 6 and open it at 6 a.m. That's a different proposition. That's not traffic.
That's absolutely an option. The thing that I would add would be...
Okay, 1 minute everyone. Wrap it up.
The commercial sessions, quite like...
I've got to get them easy too.
Whereas if you just drive into a point A and see what the city, retail won't see that. So there is a balance going on. So that would be part of signalising on Hamilton Street, so that you use Hamilton Street as that pedestrian. That's actually a really different thing with those heritage trees there as well. So all the way along.
Taking you to the beach.
I guess we need
could go and the concept of Hamilton sticking in at the more pedestrian space and make it to use that as the no, it's actually so there you get to clean which is actually even worse again, or you go up to
Okay, if we can wrap up that conversation, please.
probably needs to be done.
Maybe insurance correct people.
Okay. My observation was that as soon as I said let's wrap it up, you all started talking louder and more quickly because you had more things you wanted to fit in the time available. Sounded like a really good conversation. I am keen to go around the room quickly. We don't need you to present everything. And my observation also is that this is something that we may need to come back to again as a group because there are a lot of questions there. And we might take some of the feedback from today away and come back with another set of pictures that allow you to kind of see what you talked about and make some final tweaks before we get to the pointy end in terms of actually nailing this down. So really keen, like I said, just a couple of points from each table so we can hear on some level what each of the groups was thinking about. And let's start at the Mayor's table up the back there, please.
Thank you. So I guess what we got to, the main takeaways, don't make the Strand one way, keep that as two ways. Grey Street, keep the same amount of parking, so angle parking on both sides. We don't mind if that goes to a one way. We're not sure that Grey Street is the obvious pedestrian access. We believe that Devonport Road is, it is. Well, at the moment, I would never consider going down Grey Street. I'd always use Devonport Road. Probably just on the upgrades, maybe within the next 10 years. But the real critical ones, probably Hamilton Street, I think, needs to be upgraded. Willow Street from Harrington Street through to Wharf Street is pretty critical, and then that sort of the Strand up to Willow Street, probably and that goes into working in with the developments that are happening, depending on the Justice Precinct. Potentially that Willow Street could extend up to that. That's again just working in with what's happening. Probably the Strand again, pretty good, I think, overall. And if you kept it two-way, then potentially doesn't need it. But it's just really working in, only do it if it's needed. Definitely that little bit down by the railway bridge, that definitely needs to be upgraded. So, yeah.
Cool, thank you. The exercise we'll do after the break will allow you to go street by street and actually rank it in terms of the order that you think that we should do the work. So sounds like you guys are ahead of the game, which is awesome. Jen, your table, some quick feedback for the team?
Sure. So one of the questions was, is there a intention that if you're driving into town that you park in a park, if you want to then go to the waterfront and eat something and then go to Farmers? Are you walking all the way, or over time do we need a little free trolley bus service around the city to get around? We're a bit worried that what's happening, the really good happening in the middle, is cutting off the north and south city, and we need to make sure that keeps happening. Maybe on the Strand it is closed off from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m, but certainly not all the time, and maybe not even one way. Weren't sure that Ubers and taxis should be on the Strand because that's a nice vista of the waterfront, to move it back. We actually wanted to bring the Wharapai Domain, the walking, and I know we hear that there's issues with the beautiful trees to put a crossing, so we're going to have we want a tree walk to get across the road up there. And we want to make sure that there's good signage or an app to say, where do I find an art shop or a Christmas decoration shop or a Pilates studio around the city, so that I know how to get there.
Yes, I suppose the premise of
Yeah.
a bit of the premise of it too is that when people come here, and whether it's workers or tourists or people coming from other suburbs to enjoy the awesomeness, you don't want them getting there and then being frustrated about getting around the place, because that will be a negative experiential. Yes. So we have to make sure we get the flow. So easy to get to, easy to get around. I'd say easy to get around is probably more important.
Cool, thank you. Every city in the world is looking for its unique selling point, and if ours is a tree walk from one side of Cameron Road to the other.
What about a catapult?
Oh, and we also want a beach on the waterfront.
Yeah,
beach.
right. Yeah. Not sure if we're straying into value for money territory, but we will put that on the list and come back to you.
Take half a pilot button.
Table 4. Martin.
Yeah, no, just one point that was raised, the current traffic movement is going to funnel cars, more of the westbound traffic onto Durham Street, and it's going to overload Durham Street with private vehicles and buses, which may at certain times of day become a serious issue. How we get around that, because I do like the idea of Grey Street being one way. Is it one way in the right direction? That's open for discussion, but definitely one way. You've left off one keen access. We know we're about to move the library. Is the current library, where it is now going to become a walkway attraction for the city, we're going to turn that into something where it's access and linking Devonport and Grey Street again. We've got a space that we're going to have there that we can actually do something with, and that could be another attraction for the city. The Strand is obviously going to create a lot of debate. I like the one way purely because it gives trade access. Well, we as a group like it. But I do like the Deputy Mayor's version around time limits. Yeah, after 6, take the cars away is definitely an option we can look at. I don't know how it's going to work practically with the average person's inability to read a sign, but we'll see how we go. And also the public space in our new centre city development. Is that going to be completely public space, or is it open for users for accessibility vehicles to drop? Those who have mobility issues can be dropped right in the middle of the centre to try and let them in and out, so we're very clearly an open city for everybody. Anyone else?
No, that's good.
Cool, thank you very much. And table 3.
We had a couple of things on the bus one. There's a little bit of confusion, I think, with the Harrington Street, Hamilton Street split on the buses, and we think it might be better if they were maybe going up Harrington. And but obviously, there's working out where the stops would go is probably the key there. And then probably agree with Jen's group about a shuttle bus of some kind, where potentially just allowing people that get in by bus that they're not going to have to walk miles. That there's a little 5-minute ring route or something with a free bus would be good. And then from an accessibility point of view, we're talking about rest stops or extra seating on the routes so that people that are having difficulty walking have got somewhere they can plop down. So it's those sort of mini park things I think you guys have been talking about would be ideal. And then the old parking thing came up again, and getting the pricing right so that some of the parks like Dive Crescent turn over a bit quicker, and we're trying to get people into the upper levels of the car park buildings, maybe on a cheaper rate or something that makes it more attractive for them.
Okay, great. That is awesome. Thank you so much for the feedback. Like I've said, we will collect it all. Where we've got questions, we'll come back to you and ask. We'll watch the recording back so that we capture all of the feedback from today. There is the next slide's just about next steps. We've actually talked about, in terms of the movement framework, we are aiming for, by the middle of the year, to put something in front of you where we sign off on a movement framework for our city centre, acknowledging that it is a fluid document. Something may come up, a new development we didn't know about that might mean that we do want to change it sometime in the future, but we like the idea as much as possible of going, no, this is the way people are going to get around our city, and our investment in our streetscapes and our roads will flow from that commitment. So whatever we need to do to get to a middle of year decision and checking back with all of you on a regular basis, that's what we'll be working towards. I'm really keen to take a 10-minute break, just use the bathroom, get a cup of tea, a water for all of our externals in the room if you need the bathroom, see one of the staff so you've got, because you need a card for the bathroom, and I will call us back in 10 minutes max. Thank you. need a
feeling
good
alright?
subject matter knowledge, I'm okay.
Are you feeling alright?
Yeah, yeah.
How's it going?
Yep, yep, yep.
I'll go.
Yeah, thank you.
See you at lunch.
Spring, 2 to go. You got this. All good?
Yep.
Hey, revitalisation strategy. So we're about to reach out to businesses in the city centre and ask for 10 to 20 residents to come together. And I'll just make sure that you're more than happy to kind of get involved in that group and be there and part of the conversation. I knew you would be, but before I say Councillor Taylor out in public, I just wanted to double check. No, but there's no reason why it couldn't be. Why don't we aim for that workshop to make it public? And it's a draft thing. Okay. And so far this has been okay? Yeah. We're just trying to do it differently, you know, and stimulate discussion in a different way, and then yes, absolutely. But it doesn't, when the squeaky wheels don't always get the, you know?
Probably something that hasn't come up yet. It's all text to this. There's no point trying to develop our contributions. So it's debate. Yeah. Good?
Yep. But it's all good.
I started to read through the long-term plan this morning.
Round up the kitchen.
That sounds very, you've been around.
But I'll just add do the. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm fully committed to having you guys out of here by 4 p.m. Nick Johansson. Yes, thank you, Jen. You've hit the nail on the head. Okay, kia ora team, thank you very much. Like I said, I'm committed, along with Jen's help, to getting you all out of the door by 4 o'clock, because that's when we set the workshop to. This is the crux of the exercise that we want to get to in about 5 minutes in regards to streetscapes. I'll talk you through that in a second, but just to kind of set the scene, a couple of slides from Sean and Emily.
Yes, so reasons for change, and I really don't want to be talking to yourselves too much about this, because that's what the next activity is about. But we did want to raise that whole concept that there are some streets that are looking less than ideal, alongside investment that is both from Tauranga City Council but also from private developers that is going on, and how do we make the best use as a city of that investment? So the concept that an old kind of crappy asphalt footpath right outside of a very premier office block, probably not a great use of that investment as a wider city. And yes, we are expecting more people to be living, working and visiting the city in the future, so it's important that our streets do accommodate that. However, we can't do everything now. So on the next slide, we've had a bit of a first cut of what what can we do within the current constraints and the long-term plan budget versus what in the next 10 years versus what we can't, and just want to. This is sort of that first cut of it. There's the next activity that will allow you to have a bit of a cut at it, but wanting to just reiterate that concept of the right spend, right place, right time, and the next 10 years won't be the right time for a lot of places. If we go to the next slide. I did want to float the concept about when we're, from a right spend perspective, when we're talking about levels of investment, there's going to be a bunch of things like accessibility that are things that we really have to make sure our streets accommodate. And then there's things that are desired from around the council table, from the community, but I really also want to make sure that we leave a space in the conversation for the aspirations, so that while we definitely can't promise that we'll be able to achieve the aspirations, and we want to make sure that we understand them so that we can work towards them as much as possible within the constraints that we have. And that we can't spend premium streetscape money everywhere or realistically many places at all. So a Elizabeth Street level of investment is realistically not going to be right for a lot of our areas. So what is a acceptable level? And that is something that will form part of options that will come forward through this next year process. So next slide.
Right, this is where the fun starts. You've all got one of these on your table. It lists all of the streets in the city centre. The ones in yellow are ones that are currently identified for change within the next 10 years. On the back, the ones in pink are currently identified for change outside the 10 years. There's no reason why that can't change. That's the whole point of this exercise, and our conversations with you is to go, no, hold on a second, for these reasons we think we need to do this one sooner and this one can wait. So what we tried to do is do something a bit different. We've come up with some categories along the outside that relate to streetscape issues that we're keen for you to consider. We just need a tick or a cross. We'll add up all the ticks. This one will score a 6, this one will score a 1. The ones with the higher numbers, if you all agree, are likely ones that we'll look to do earlier rather than later. Don't overanalyze it. Don't spend 15 minutes deciding if this box needs a cross or a tick, Glenn. Just, gut feel. Sorry, Glenn, that was low. Gut feel, tick or a cross. And you've got a bunch of boxes to work through, both sides of the paper. And let's see how it goes. At the end, we'll probably get you to report back and tell us your top 3 or your bottom 3, just to see if there's some level of consistency. Just reiterating, this isn't the final decision. This is just start to get us closer to some form of consensus in terms of right spend, right place, right time. Cool? Staff will come around. Ticks and crosses, go for it. Thank you. What's that?
Or do we move? Do we just move it? Yeah.
This is vehicle
Can you see it?
Yeah, I think we've got the same visual.
When you were looking at the stream.
So where's the strand on the map?
That's one.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yep.
Bars. So the first question is.
It's not. I thought Willow Street North. And then
yellow.
is that the top? And then it's just
Increased number of people.
So yeah, but the pink ones are not registered. Okay, so this the yellow part of the stand here
supports movement.
I would disagree.
Supports movement.
So let's go to the next. Oh, we're going to go right down.
Vehicles, buses, taxis.
Accessibility in the street.
Supports ground level use, retail, hospitality. Improves biodiversity and canopy.
I know that their friends who use wheelchairs have gone there, have food or drink or whatever, and have had to wait or not go to So that's why the question was
Are we ticking to say you need to do work or that it meets those needs?
What does it say? So there's significant change.
No, we want access here.
Okay,
We've had a few up there.
Safety from slips, etc.
But is that the wider definition of safety?
Well, I think we put it into two there, I think. Which is, no, there is no. So you've got your kind of crime prevention, and then you've got slips and fall, kind of two different aspects of safety.
It is slippery there when it rains. Again, it's the favourite.
And then maybe from the crime prevention, I know we're not going to overanalyse too much, but I mean, you've got all your bars and stuff there, so weekend could be broad.
Increased number of people in the city, pretty wide. Paths are pretty good.
I think when you all go down to the new office block, it's all going to
Northern Quarter opens midweek.
Oh yeah, tickle across on that.
That's why the
Do you think it's capable of taking more people?
Oh yes, particularly when you close it, but not from a parking perspective. No, that's a frustrating.
The last thing I heard was
Hamilton
Willow
to
Street, Hamilton to Monmouth.
Willow is
Okay.
Hamilton
Okay.
to
Yes. Okay.
Hamilton to here. We're talking from here to here.
This is where I worked for 12 years.
And this is a clearance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's clearance, yeah. It's bloody awful. It's,
Current CF at the end of its use. Do we think that it is at the end of its use?
yes, I do.
So that's significant change required is a tick.
Yeah. So we wanted to, we wanted that, yeah, we've got to do something about it. Accessibility, it's not very good because it's like on the, even around the, where the building comes down to there and the footpath comes down to there and it's just all.
But did we mean that to be a tick thing?
Oh, it's currently, no, it doesn't need to be dealt with, right? Yeah, we just did the wrong then, yes. So accessibility, so we need to
Improve it?
support current.
Because it's going to be blocked off there, isn't it?
Doesn't yet, so that's there. Crime prevention, I don't know.
It's not far from the cop shop, but maybe a bit far.
It's too far away from traffic.
You guys, what you've done is to hire the school from the resources. So the more takes, the more it's meeting the needs.
Now I'm going to change my view.
I don't think that's a problem, I think there's enough room.
You just got back. So the ones with the lowest score are the ones that you think are the highest priorities. The way
Willow Street North.
So this is where they're building the new from.
Oh, is it the Justice Precinct?
From here up.
Justice.
So it's going past the police
It still
station.
does that.
Well, that's not really a pedestrian area, is
You've
it?
got footpaths on both sides, and the roads are quite wide. You've got those
So you
funny
don't know what we're thinking, so let's go to the Willow
I think the Strand,
This part of the northern part of
I think that whole, front section. I wouldn't say it's, yeah, I would say it's easy. Do you think that it
Street is at the end of its useful
Like
life.
I'd say
It's actually the pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, like I'd say that these are priority.
When Willow Street North, where the old library is.
No, I think it's the uphill
Willow
Street North is connecting to
You don't really need
And I
to
also think
have
it hasn't
accessible
been thoroughly utilised. You've got a few law firms dotted around, but there's not hours,
and
DAs and MPs have all these things.
And it becomes part of the
And you've got Crombie, Lockwood,
So that street is
See, that's going to happen. But
Oh, yes, you're right, actually.
Yes,
Which one's the connection to Clarify Domain though?
Oh, if I didn't have the name.
They sort of up
That's exactly what we want to be fixing, but if you're giving it a try.
accessibility. I would have said that was okay. Sports current and future developments. That's a big one now, so probably.
So that's a key thing in
Safety of the street.
Actually, it's quite, police station is quite close to the Rose Garden.
Very close. Across the road. You can get, it's counterintuitive, but you can get antisocial behaviour outside of the police station.
So when you're thinking being next to the police stations on the street, you think it'd be easy.
Yeah, they keep it
Everything around Bay Court is
I mean,
It's going to be blocked off from there to there
So
anyway.
if you tick saying current street is at the end, it's usually right.
to be honest,
It is. So that's a tick.
It's a tick, and we go, yes, it's accessible, so that's sort of
So you get,
Which at the moment is just one way.
yeah, it doesn't need change.
Yeah, and it's really bumpy.
Willow Street North, I would be saying from the accessible. So we got an accessible.
That's been done up quite recently.
And found that, especially for those
okay, an actual fair, yeah, okay.
crossing, so because the way the roads are, they're all filtered to like that. If you try to cross Carrington Street,
Yeah, and it's like it's quite, it's a bit more open. Yeah.
So it's a bit weird.
We better
No,
say
Harrington's not good. I know quite a lot of women on the way in.
we think it's a
So you put it in it.
As in you'd want to do make some changes.
Yeah, I would give that
But if we're going to,
doesn't need
across the whole that's just a pretty good.
So for example, the street doesn't need
The whole of the
Yeah.
it's going to change not
Because I walk everywhere.
so it's basically changes what.
do you live down here?
I would do the ones
I go to good
around the city.
Right, and which is actually, so that's really accessible, right? So we have to do that, right? And Pebble Beach, and the one on the other side.
We've got a little two-way street.
push on thing, push on.
So support current employees about So I think where that might be a tip, we need to make sure it works really well. Because if that work doesn't get it,
But I still,
that's my understanding.
We keep getting things in our
So will that salvage it?
I don't feel like it's there's plenty of things, there's people around, there's always something that's well done.
There's a lot of events there and a lot of people park as far as down that, yeah. It will do eventually, yeah, that's right.
I think you need to move it along because they don't.
It is a quite, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I just think with the development going on there, it just makes sense. Durham to Strand. Just there's not much going on there. I'm not really sure what.
Cameron Road to Strand, all the way down to
Where's the new legal? Where's the
Hamilton is Strand from there.
What do we think?
Here's Hamilton here, so this is
Yes, because it's bringing everybody from the buses.
Do we need to right, okay, so the best present. And yellow is to be able to take them into a different part. Okay. So that's interesting. So currently it's for yeah, we need to spend access to street.
Well, everything that's got a green line on you is actually pretty good.
Melbourne Quarter.
Is Lone Star there or Lone Star there?
Okay, what about support movement into the city? No, that's not Quarter.
support movement in.
So all of
Again, I think.
both of these streets for here to here are pretty average, aren't they?
Because of
Because
What do we say?
just,
Maybe the same. Okay,
yeah.
so that's whatever that is. That's that.
And then I think
I think Hamilton Street is more.
Yeah.
No, we've got more to go. Come on. Is there any other
we can do a general, we can do a
Okay,
Harrington's the
what needs to change?
I think Harrington Street is, particularly for these bits here, are not good, are they?
So the main one was Spring Street.
Yeah, I know, but they're going to become a key part of
Okay,
it.
so Wolf Street from Durham to...
Durham to Willow. We want to get this right. Because Wolf Street's...
That's this one. They're looking at here now.
That odd little side section street. Kind of odd, isn't it?
It's had the buses in the past, so it's quite wide, and it's got... because this is where the library is now, eh?
You overdo it, you end up like
So
Spring Street a few years back.
Bay Court's here.
About the impact on their cars.
Well, he means the library.
What's interesting to me is
Waikato Uni's over here.
Where Wolf Street, Durham to...
So Wall Street's where this is Eat Street here, right? It's the bit above that.
Up from Eastleigh, okay.
I think
This needs to be good, because this is going to be right next to the
that's what I was going to say. And it's leading us down to what is already like a good precinct for people.
I mean, the main advantage, and that's where the toe point
You are welcome. I think, yes.
Is it in its life?
You know, you can even trial them. Close off the street.
But in relation to the new the development side of things, where is it?
I know.
Support the current future development.
I really know that.
On Harrington House. Current street is at the end of its useful life. Probably agree with that. Accessibility of the street.
It's like that. But that
The
doesn't.
bottom part isn't, and the top part isn't. It's just that
Little bit.
So I'd say.
And it's only one of
And what can you do
two
about that?
streets.
You can't do anything about it. That's right.
That's not an issue.
Perhaps you could almost
So that's a take.
Well, yeah, we need to
This one?
support moving around the city centre. Well,
It's already done. Do we need anything more on it?
oh yeah. No, because well, by default it will, because you'll have a whole heap of staff there.
Strand is one way, and you're coming up to
Not staff, but people there.
I tossed this out and she made me go back.
To do it.
Like to me, this needs to be because it's right next to this. This needs to be
Okay, so is it supporting buses and cars?
It's hard to say at present because you kind of, and actually it's two-way and
what
one
often
way,
happens
isn't
to
it?
me
Yeah.
is what the
So
most
it's kind of,
These two and the next one as well will both be worked on with the whole new.
But because I can't get
We'll have it anyway. So
I
this
either
one,
have to not requesting to go on
Well, given that,
not the whole way.
you know, even if I tried to go, you know, and so it just it's just made it a little
Doesn't
bit
encourage
more
people to take
complicated.
anything, support quadrant. Well, in actual fact, there is some, there's a
Yeah,
little
so you
bit
can't
of
turn, you can't actually turn.
okay, so now Spring Street, Durham.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the tree.
Oh no, you come in that way. Yeah, you can come in that way. But the problem is, you can't actually get into that. So then I often go, and I go round the circle, and I just.
So we've got one more to do.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
okay, so they've done a bit of stuff here. This has got the little hands and the slappers on. There's a bit of stuff, there's a bit of connection here. And they've turned it into, haven't they made it a one lane, or they've taken away the parking?
Yeah. They said this lovely plant.
Yes, they have removed it.
Yeah, she was lovely.
Yeah, I feel like
it just needs a bit of
Really nice person.
I think they're trying to, I think,
I haven't seen Fraser, but I like her.
so I think what they're trying to do here
they're not like, they're more like
I think really
Annoying having that parking removed.
So I think what they're trying to do here is let people park here,
it is a jinx, isn't it?
and they want them to walk, so they don't want too many vehicles here, because they want it to be easy for people to walk and connect.
Come and do your ticks.
We're just trying to figure out
why they removed parking.
But I think the parking's there, so they sort of want that to be a walk street to connect from the car.
Yeah.
Just took them off the street.
Yeah, they put pots, ceramic, concrete pots in the way.
So this is basically more park? Yeah.
Accessibility of street.
Willow Street.
No, but it's parking space for someone that wants to go in quickly somewhere. You know, it means they can run.
Yeah, if you use Free Street,
It's really inconvenient, and I can't see the point in crossing the
That was their original street.
I would
yeah, I think Free Street needs more like greenery, especially at the top of the street. It's so sad. Doesn't help that there's a lot of empty spaces at the top there too.
Well, what happened with the top of Grey Street?
Our theory works. Okay, so now we've got Devonport to Tunks.
This is all the outside tent, some of them.
Yeah. So I'd say just that little bit from the underpass. Underpass to Tunks.
Does it support the city centre?
That's the down by the harbour side. Yeah, so if we just from there.
Oh, hang on, no, there is a single yeah. I've been caught every time. Yeah, you got it.
I've always started, yeah, totally, 100%.
Alright, so this is what we're talking about. So this is the new development. This is the
Palm trees, I think it's the strategy today.
Is it crazy?
I think it's going to happen because there's not much on the street though that would lie down
If you make it a street, it brings people on going coffee,
Yeah, that was my job.
that would be a game changer for traffic issues. Well, it's so funny you talk about that. So we would love to make the Durham Barracks down on the street.
But that's parking, not whether the street allows cars to go up and down. And at the moment, it does allow cars to go up and down.
Yeah, like, yes, they should be a permanent, yeah, because they're really big draw. And we're big
Ground level retail or
interpretation.
So
which one?
the Strand. Yeah, it's the Strand.
Where else?
I mean, well, the whole block. The whole block.
It's pretty difficult.
So Willow Street brings
And it's current state.
all the way there.
Willow from Spring to so you're saying somewhere in there you want something for event?
To be honest, it's very difficult to like put one
There is
above the
a
other.
Well,
in
it's
my
because
opinion.
it's kind of the event
you could upgrade it to flow.
So what about this Fourth Street?
So that's the same?
Right now.
It looks nice, but it doesn't look amazing.
I think the top of Wall Street is the
There
problem.
is a
This is from yeah, this is from Durham.
there is some aspect of it, but I would argue that
Well, yeah, and that becomes a
natural extension of the body part.
Yeah.
That's lovely, there is a seat there.
But you want more?
So the last one is Elizabeth Spring. Where's Elizabeth Spring? Where's Elizabeth? Elizabeth's here.
That'll just happen.
Grey Street, we're here. Oh, my God.
But I mean,
particularly if it's done money, access to get done.
it's not actually showing.
So
Oh, yeah, the question is how much
Grace Street is a bit old.
To my mind, it should just go the whole.
Yeah, what's everyone's view of that street when you go down?
Whether that be just more.
What's everyone's view of the current street? Is it like Grace Street? So when you drive in there,
accessibility of street.
Well, I think the Strand, because if you're going to have everything stand on the
Good question in terms of the art. It depends what they are.
I feel because Hamilton Street
There is
is
that
just
space in Grace
on
Street at the moment, which is
I feel like definitely needs some support. That would be a nice. I think Hamilton Street needs some
Wolf with no
and I don't know whether that's just
supports movement around the city.
kind of interactive.
Probably does, though, although it depends.
I guess the question is,
We can support ground level use, it'll be easy enough. Yeah, it's crazy, eh?
but maybe
You've got to make it look at
I think it just needs to represent.
2 minutes. Not the end of the world if you haven't finished, but yeah, 2 minutes.
experience.
Safety? Is that still going to have a role with the staking of buses? No. Right.
Ideally on the net it was.
Yeah.
That needs to end. Like that ambient down at the end of the harvest. I mean, I'm just going to tick the shit out of that. That's the big thing.
Oh, is it one?
Accessibility street. Supports current and future developments. Safety street.
Because that's going like
Well, it doesn't do that at present. It could do that really well.
There isn't any.
That's when we get the walkway to Memorial
Where it's supposed to be.
The ganging up on me, Sean, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so then I'll top discussion.
So it's a tick spin.
Okay, should be on your last column.
Yeah.
Last 1 or 2 columns.
Yeah.
That's
Flip a coin.
It still needs some of the streets.
How we have to. So there you can see that. You can see that's where the quarters and you can see this.
Okay, so you do
the latest.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll have a
so that's the easiest already here and here. These ones. So that's like the thing that's sort of getting into the city. The best of it, this is where they're almost like how we get, they're just going to get transport. They're just going to be easy to get feed into. They're not really going to be a massive part of, to me, they're part of get to.
Okay, let's do this. Well done, everyone. Great effort. What I'm really keen to do is we'll go around the tables, your 2 most important streets to do, and then your 2 least important streets to do, and then let's see if there was consensus or not, because that might indicate that we asked the wrong questions. I'm just kind of keen to test the process and see if there's some kind of level of consistency. So We'll start at Martin and Glenn's table. Your two streets that out of that conversation identified themselves as the most important to do, and then the two that you think are probably the least important to do.
Right, so the first one was Hamilton Street, and then we had a tie, a genuine tie, between Harrington, which we think needs significant work, but the strand that needs, for different reasons, for different parts of the scoring table, needed also sort of equal score. And the two lowest were Willow Street South and Wolf Street.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Rod? Steve?
We didn't get finished, but we probably concur with what Glenn said, I think.
Of what we did get to scoring-wise, it's the same, except Willow's slightly ahead.
I'd like to bring one of the ones, the strand extension, to me, that needs to be sorted. It's probably the crappiest bit in the town.
Okay. Thank you. We don't concur. We did with Hamilton Street, that's our number one. But we actually had a tie for number two, and that was Willow Street, Harrington to Wharf.
Yeah.
So that was just a part of it, but not the whole thing. And then the underpass to Tunks. So that's the strand extension, but only that last bit.
Yep.
So.
And what about the least?
And then the least, we had the strand, and Grey Street from the number one list, and then Red Square and Dive Crescent were from the So pretty much it worked out. Apart from that underpass to Tunks, those ones were our low ones.
Awesome.
But out of that other one, the Strand and Grey Street were up.
Awesome, thank you. And Jen?
So we think that of the pink ones, the Strand extension, Devonport to Tunks, plus the footpath all the way to Memorial. So really massively important to connect.
Do I get to vote?
No real litigation.
I still haven't let it go. We thought Red Square was very low, so that's in a pretty good shape. And around the corner, flowing on from that, we thought that Wharf to Spring was pretty good. It was low, so low priority. Hamilton Street we saw as a high priority. And then we were looking at Durham and Grey. We think Grey needs, if it's going to be a real central part of the retail experience, it needs to be right up there.
Awesome, thank you very much. We'll again take all that information and throw it into the pot and reflect it back to you at some point shortly. I'd be fascinated, and we haven't got time today, but in a conversation about Red Square, for example, where if we hadn't done some tactical intervention over the last 6 to 12 months, would it have scored higher? And it's a space we've spent $500,000 versus $9.5 million in Masonic Park, for example, and it does kind of demonstrate how you can bring life and value to a public space that's, you know, a little bit tired, but in a cost-effective and relatively quick way. So, might be something that we delve into at another conversation, just to see if that's something that's worth doing a little bit more. We've got yes, please.
The planting there has made quite a big difference, and I think, again, as you say, inexpensive, but it's made a dramatic difference to that. What was quite a hard surface. I think
As the plants grow, it just gets better and better every day. We've got a couple more slides to wrap up, and then I'll get some feedback from you for 2 minutes at the end, and then we'll have you out of here before 4 o'clock. Sean.
So, yes, we haven't forgotten about the fact that whatever gets built or invested in does need to be operated. So we have done some initial thinking on that, however, wanted to just reiterate that thinking will be baked into from this point all the way through to delivery of the streets. So I did want to note a few things that we have learned from our current streetscapes, and bit of a mantra that another one that we've sort of been thinking about, and that actually maintaining a lot of those planting assets is relatively easy. It's more about how you do it in a city centre environment with the road right next to it and such. So what we have been looking at is, rather than on Durham Street where the plants sit right up against the road and you need to close a lane, how do you create a hard space for a metre or so the maintenance teams are just accessing off the footpath and needing a lot less traffic management and the like, and ensuring that in our city centre we are designing absolutely the best thing that we can have in the city, from for example, I know the using chemicals to weed was used as an example of making sure that they're designed in a way that we can have mulch and the likes, which mitigate or minimises the amount of weeding and the amount of spraying that needs to happen. So that's really what we wanted to talk about at this point, and that we wanted to be really, really upfront. Just make sure that you're aware that we are considering about the operational element. We do need to make sure that that's baked into whatever we develop.
Next slide.
Next slide, yep.
And this is just a slide sort of talking to on Hamilton Street, showing that over the period of development our streets have actually in a way gone backwards. The previous streetscape, I can't remember when that street view image was taken, but you can see that we have actually removed some of the green canopy space from through development. So that concept of how do we bring it back to at least what was there, or something, and this is from our internal design team, bit of a collage sort of start to look at how we can do better in the future.
Cool. Next slide. 2 more slides. While you were all working, Nick updated the draft problem statement and draft investment objectives based on your feedback. So, except that's gone off the thing. Keen just for a quick read, and if there's any obvious and immediate allergic reactions, we will send this to you and get your feedback in due course. But just keen on a quick. Thanks, Anna. Here. Any initial feedback?
I really like the statements about the one that Ron's team included, live, work, learn, and play.
Maybe not Leah.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's also very much in line with what Downtown Tauranga is trying to project as well.
Cool. Any other initial? There'll be no leering in the final document.
Good.
Okay, cool, thank you. I'm going to wrap up. There is one more slide. It just speaks to next steps. We've talked about it a lot. We're going to develop a draft streetscape delivery plan. We're going to bring that back in conjunction with the movement framework. And then by the end of the year, our plan is to have a final streetscape delivery plan, which then in 2026 we start to actually just get out there and deliver on. As much as I say a final plan, like I said before, things will pop up in the city centre. Development will pop up we didn't know about today that we need to respond to, and we need to be agile enough to be able to do that. But this needs to be a plan that's solid enough that we can give certainty to our capital delivery teams to get on and get the work rolling out. Just a couple of notes to wrap up. We're on a journey with you over the rest of this year to deliver great outcomes for our city centre. We want to do it efficiently. We want to deliver value for money for our ratepayers. We want to do right spend, right place, right time, and reiterating the fact that you guys have influence and control over how we do that. We will present you hopefully really good, solid information to allow you to make good, solid decisions that deliver those great outcomes for the community. I just wanted to thank you all for your time. 2.5 hours is a bit of a slog, but appreciate it, in particular to our externals. We all got paid, you didn't, and we really appreciate your contribution. Also interested in, maybe for a minute, any feedback on the workshop type format. We wanted to just try and do something a bit different, use some different energy in the room to bring some different thinking to the table and break things up rather than just sitting around like we normally do. So interested in any feedback on that. Be brutal.
Tables be great if they were around, like getting 4 people around the...
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Hotapu.
Kia ora. I just want to me to our community members that are here too. It's choice to feel a bit of different energy in the room and connect with you guys in a creative way. For me, this was great. I acknowledge every day that we work in a very privileged environment, and you know the decisions we make and conversations we have a real tangible impact on our city and on our people. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't be able to have fun in the way that we go about doing that. And every other workshop we've had to date has been very much like a council meeting. And we have council meetings for 10 hours some days, so it's great to be able to change up the dynamic. For me personally, I've loved the way that this is operated, and I would encourage the rest of the organisation to be bold in how you interact with us when it comes to presenting workshops and things, because this has been great for me to converse with others in the room and a bit of banter and all those sorts of things. I mean, I found it really valuable, as well as the actual source material that we're here to discuss too. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Really good, really loved the external feedback. I probably would just say when it got to all of these, just a bit much at the beginning, we could have just each had a third or a quarter.
We lost them on that.
Yeah, sorry, I lost after 2 hours, sorry. But otherwise, like, really great, and I think time-wise it was, we otherwise went well through it. It was great having the teams coming to see if we had any problems. But yeah, I think great interaction, so I really enjoyed it.
The first thing from me too, adding to that, I think if you're talking about engagement and consultation and communication, I mean, doing it this way is at a very, very early level. You're getting interested parties that have some knowledge of what we're looking at doing. So it's the earliest form of consultation and collaboration, which is pretty cool, I think.
I'll go Glenn and then Rod. Kia ora.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Love the external input. I would also encourage maybe even more diversity of, like maybe a couple of young people, a couple of older people who are representing their ends of the age spectrum, and maybe a perspective from outside the CBD, trying to sort of look at the fact that it's our city as a whole that we're looking at, and this is one piece of it, and maybe they could share learnings from their, Greaton or wherever they come from.
Great feedback. Thank you, Rod.
I just have a question: how Cherrywood didn't become the #1 choice? It is.
Oh, that's the trouble with that.
Just following on what Glenn said there, I think it would be great to do a very similar exercise with Mount Maunganui, Greaton, Welcome Bay, look at some of those older retail areas that maybe need a bit of a zhuzh up as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
Any external?
Yeah, maybe just our externals. Like I said, we really appreciate your time. Any final feedback? Stephen, you're never short of a word.
We didn't notice that. We appreciate being asked both as a local businessman resident and also with my downtown Tauranga board member hat on. So it's nice to be able to represent more than just my own interest in these discussions. It has certainly made me see the council process as something that is accessible and something that we can help mould for a better future. Because I think to a large extent as a ratepayer and a voter in the community, you sometimes feel disenfranchised from the mechanisms that make these decisions. So this is a really nice format to be able to partake in those decisions and realise that you're all quite nice, except you don't walk down the street and jandle.
Not yet.
And it's a really worthwhile activity to undertake. So thanks for asking us so long.
Let's capture that. Sound like.
Yeah.
So I really respect everybody here in the room, and I found that this environment made me feel like felt very comfortable to be able to put my opinion forward and be able to voice what I wanted to say.
Awesome. TCC is a learning organisation, so we will absolutely take that feedback on board and look to do more of this, because from our point of view it's felt really valuable and an interesting and engaging way to get feedback, and we will close that loop and reflect that feedback back to you so that you can see that we heard or got it wrong and correct us. So again, appreciate all of your time. You guys are free to go 10 minutes early. Thank you. Kia ora. Mr. Mayor, handing to the Mayor.
Thank you everyone for attending, and we'll just hand over to our tapu to close us off.
Ka whakairiha te tapu kia wātea te ara ki mui a tātou kia tūru ki whakataha ai, kia tūru ki whakataha ai, haumi e hui e. Thank you. Thanks, eh? Thanks, good to see you. Oh, you too. Good to see you.